The Boys Season 5 Episode 5 is just hours away, and as the release gets closer, a brand new trailer has dropped. And honestly, this might be the wildest, most unpredictable preview we've seen so far. Instead of revealing major plot details, it throws us into a chaotic mix of dark humor, intense violence, and pure confusion. It's the kind of trailer that leaves you thinking, what did I just watch? But in the best way possible. To watch every trailer for The Boys, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. So let's get started. If you stick with this video till the end, you'll fully understand what's about to go down in Episode 5. Right from the start, something feels different. Usually, The Boys leans heavily into brutality and dark storytelling. But this time, there's a noticeable comedic tone layered throughout. Not lighthearted comedy. This is awkward, twisted, slightly disturbing humor that somehow fits perfectly within the show's chaotic world. And then there's that bizarre shot of Homelander, easily one of the strangest visuals we've ever seen of him, which hints that this episode might push boundaries even further than usual. On top of that, the sheer amount of blood and destruction teased in the trailer suggests we're heading straight into a full-on bloodbath. And let's not forget the biggest highlight, the Supernatural reunion. Seeing Jensen Ackles, Jared Padalecki, and Misha Collins together again is already a huge moment for fans. But in the brutal universe of The Boys, this reunion is anything but safe. Breaking down the trailer. The trailer kicks off with Mr. Marathon entering a room, followed closely by Soldier Boy and Homelander. Instantly, the tension is through the roof. Whenever Homelander walks into a scene, you know something bad is about to happen, and adding Soldier Boy into the mix only makes things more dangerous. The big question is, why are they there? At this point in the story, everything revolves around V1, the mysterious and incredibly important substance everyone is trying to track down. But here's the twist. Butcher and his team already know that V1 is actually in Bombside's possession, not Mr. Marathon's. So why would Homelander and Soldier Boy show up here? One possibility is that they're not looking for V1 directly, they're looking for a lead. Mr. Marathon, a former member of the Seven, had super speed abilities similar to A-Train. But over time, his powers declined due to age and heavy drug use, ultimately leading to his replacement. Now, he's a shadow of his former self, vulnerable, unstable, and potentially desperate. When Homelander says, "We're looking for something," what do you know about V1? It doesn't sound like a question, it sounds like a threat. Homelander doesn't ask politely. He demands answers. A strong theory here is that Mr. Marathon might have connections to Bombside through his past drug use. Since V1 was stolen from Fort Harmony and Bombside is suspected to be involved, Homelander and Soldier Boy could be using Mr. Marathon as a way to track him down, either by forcing information out of him or making him arrange a meeting. Enter Mal Chemical. In the same scene, we spot Mal Chemical, played by Misha Collins, hiding nervously in the corner. This moment feels important. Homelander has a reputation for noticing everything, and the way Mal Chemical slowly reveals himself suggests he's already been spotted. In the comics, Mal Chemical has shape-shifting abilities, which could play a major role here. If the show keeps that power intact, he becomes a very valuable and very dangerous character. We then see Soldier Boy grabbing Mal Chemical, which strongly suggests he's being used as leverage. If Mr. Marathon refuses to cooperate, Mal Chemical might pay the price. Blood, chaos, and possible deaths. Things escalate quickly. We get a shot of Mr. Marathon covered in blood and surrounded by what looks like the remains of multiple people. This isn't just a minor scuffle. This is total carnage. But who caused it? It could be Homelander and Soldier Boy losing control. Or, more intriguingly, it could be Bombside himself. Based on the name, Bombside likely has explosive abilities, and the sheer scale of destruction we see could point to him being present during this confrontation. If that's true, then this scene might not just be an interrogation. It could be a full-on battle. Butcher's strange scene. Then the trailer takes a sharp turn. We see Butcher sitting on a couch while his dog, Terror, is aggressively playing with what looks like a Homelander-themed stuffed toy. It's weird, funny, and oddly symbolic. almost like a physical representation of Butcher's obsession with destroying Homelander. But the reactions of Frenchie, Mother's Milk, and Kimiko suggest something is off. This isn't just a random comedic moment. It could hint that something went wrong with Butcher's virus experiment. Maybe it failed, or worse, had unintended consequences. The fake Homelander? Next comes one of the strangest shots in the trailer. A version of Homelander standing in a field, acting completely out of character. It doesn't feel like him at all. This leads to a major theory. What if this isn't Homelander? If Malchemical really does have shape-shifting abilities, he could be impersonating Homelander as part of a larger plan. Maybe it's a setup to lure Bombside out, or even some kind of blackmail scenario involving a compromising video. Either way, something about this moment feels deliberately off, and that's what makes it so intriguing. More chaos. Adam and Stan Edgar. The trailer keeps piling on the madness. We get a brief but shocking shot of Vought's director, Adam, screaming in pain while sitting in a bathroom stall. It's uncomfortable, confusing, and completely unexpected. But in The Boys, even the most random scenes usually tie back into something bigger. Then we see Stan Edgar, and he looks completely broken. Gone is his calm, controlled demeanor. He's disheveled, without his glasses, and forced to wear a Homelander shirt, clearly a form of humiliation. This tells us one thing. Homelander is fully in control now. When Stan says it should be a delightful reunion, it works on multiple levels. It's a nod to the real-life reunion of the Supernatural cast, but also a dark reference to the characters' shared history. There's even a possibility that Homelander and Soldier Boy might bring Stan Edgar along with them, potentially placing him right in the middle of the chaos we saw earlier. Final moments and big questions. The trailer ends with Soldier Boy looking at an old photo and saying, "Good times." It's a small moment, but it carries a lot of weight. It hints at nostalgia, regret, and maybe even a darker connection to what's about to happen. With only 3 episodes left after this one, the story is clearly heading toward its climax. The search for V1 is entering its final stage, and things are about to move fast. One surprising detail, the absence of the Gen V characters. With recent news about the show's cancellation after Season 2, there's a chance their role in this storyline has been reduced or removed entirely. Final thoughts. Episode 5 is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable entries in the season. It blends comedy, horror, action, and chaos in a way only The Boys can. Now the big questions remain. Will Homelander and Soldier Boy actually find Bombside? Can Mr. Marathon survive this encounter? And most importantly, who's not making it out alive? We won't have to wait much longer to find out. Now let's talk about that brutal aftermath we saw inside Mr. Marathon's house. The level of blood and destruction in that scene doesn't look like the result of a normal fight. It doesn't even feel like a controlled attack. It looks more like the aftermath of a massive, uncontrolled explosion. That immediately opens up a strong possibility. What if Bombside was actually there? If Bombside's powers are truly explosive in nature, then he could easily turn an entire room into that kind of chaos within seconds. The scattered remains, the sheer volume of blood, it all points towards something far more destructive than a simple confrontation. But there's another angle we can't ignore. What if Homelander caused all of this? We already know Homelander's temper is dangerously unstable. If Mr. Marathon failed to give him the answers he wanted, or even hesitated, Homelander could have snapped and destroyed everything without a second thought. However, the tone of the trailer suggests that this might not just be rage. It feels calculated, almost like a message, warning to anyone who might think about standing in his way. Now, shifting focus to Malchemical, his role is starting to look extremely important. If he really is a shapeshifter, then using him becomes a strategic move. Imagine Homelander and Soldier Boy forcing him to take on someone else's identity, maybe Bombside himself or someone close to him, in order to set a trap. That's a dangerous game, because if Bombside is as powerful as we think, this kind of plan could backfire in a big way. There's also the possibility that the strange version of Homelander we saw standing in that field isn't actually Homelander at all, but Malchemical in disguise. If that's the case, then we could be looking at some kind of stage video or psychological manipulation tactic. And that leans into something The Boys does incredibly well. It's not just about physical fights, it's about control, perception, and mind games. Now let's talk about Butcher. In the trailer, his behavior feels off. On the surface, he looks calm, almost relaxed, but the people around him clearly aren't. Frenchie, Mother's Milk, and Kimiko all seem tense and concerned. That contrast is a huge red flag. It suggests that something has gone wrong, possibly with the virus he's been working on. Maybe the virus isn't stable. Maybe it's producing unpredictable results. Or maybe, and this is the most dangerous possibility, Butcher is planning to test it on himself. If that happens, he could turn into a ticking time bomb. The virus might give him a temporary edge, making him powerful enough to go head-to-head with Homelander. But in the long run, it could destroy him from the inside. And if Butcher becomes the weapon meant to take Homelander down, then his story could be heading toward a tragic end. The reactions of Frenchie, MM, and Kimiko reinforce this idea. They don't look like a team confidently executing a plan. They look like people trying to survive something spiraling out of control. Whatever is happening, it's bigger than they expected. Now let's talk about Soldier Boy. That line, "good times," isn't just a throwaway moment. It's loaded with meaning. It reflects his past, his old team, maybe even the glory days he's lost. But in The Boys, nostalgia is never safe. It usually leads straight into something dark. Soldier Boy himself is a walking time bomb. He's unpredictable, violent, and driven by ego. If he starts to feel like Homelander is becoming more powerful than him, there's a real chance he could turn against him. Their alliance is fragile. It could break at any moment. And that raises a huge question. What does the final showdown actually look like? Is it going to be Homelander versus Butcher? Homelander versus Soldier Boy? Or all three clashing against each other in one chaotic, explosive battle? Now, looking at the bigger picture, there are only 3 episodes left. That means the story is entering its final stretch. There's no room for filler anymore. Every scene, every moment, every decision is going to matter. The search for V1 is clearly heading toward its climax. Whoever ends up controlling it could decide the outcome of everything. If Homelander gets it, he could become nearly unstoppable. If Butcher uses it, it might come at the cost of his own life. And then there's Bomb's side, the wild card. We still don't fully understand him, but his presence is already shaping the story. There's a strong chance he could emerge as the biggest threat in the final episodes. Another interesting detail is the absence of the Gen V characters. They were expected to play a role, but now it feels like they've been pushed aside. Maybe the focus has shifted entirely to wrapping up the core storyline without distractions. At the end of the day, episode 5 feels like a turning point. This could be the moment where alliances break, secrets come to light, and characters are pushed beyond their limits. And now, the biggest questions. Will Homelander become even more dangerous? Will Butcher risk everything to end it once and for all? And will Soldier Boy survive this time? Or is this where his story finally ends? One thing is certain. The Boys has entered its most intense phase yet.